In this video, we'll talk about status quo bias. It refers to our preference for the situation to remain unchanged in the absence of pressure to change it. Do you still remember omission bias, which was discussed in an earlier video? Omission bias refers to the preference for inaction. Unlike the omission bias, status quo bias is the preference for the current state of affairs. There are often very good and rational reasons for continuing the current state of affairs. If a leadership practice works, then there is no good reason to change it. However, the status quo bias is the propensity to prefer the current state of affairs, even when it is not the most reasonable option. People who advocate for a change and do not choose the status quo option feel a greater need to justify their decision. Therefore, it is easier to stick to the status quo, avoiding justification and risks associated with the change. It is an often repeated saying that we cannot keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. However, people, especially those who are part of the establishment in an organization, have a very hard time taking this advice to heart. Sometimes the establishment has vested interest in cementing the status quo. They are often the status quo defenders who benefit from sustaining a set of existing rules, beliefs, rituals, and institutional procedures. Other times, the change is too complicated to handle at the moment, so the leaders choose to maintain the status quo and kick the can down the road. In organizations where consequences of commission, which is doing something, tend to be punished more severely than the consequences of omission, which is doing nothing, the status quo holds a particularly strong attraction. As the old saying goes, let's not rock the boat right now, and let's wait till the situation stabilizes. As time passes, the existing organizational culture becomes more entrenched, and changing it becomes more difficult. Having failed to seize the opportunity when a change would have been expected, leaders find themselves stuck with the status quo. Experiments have shown that the more options you are given, the more vulnerable you are to the status quo. Why? This is because choosing from more options require additional efforts. We follow the principle of least effort by selecting the status quo. Hiring a demographically diverse workforce is important, but a diversity of demographics does not necessarily equate with a diversity of opinions. The conformity effect may influence how we recruit talents and make hiring decisions. Sometimes people on a search committee or a panel prioritize a cultural fit over job candidates' competence. Instead of hiring a competent, think-out-of-box, innovative job candidate, some leaders prefer those who fit comfortably into our existing norms and being on the same page with what we have been doing. If the existing organizational culture is not innovative, hiring a maverick who refuses to be conformed can make organizational members very uncomfortable. We may prefer job candidates who are recommended by word of mouth because they are more likely to be recommended by those who are like us. But the more new hires who are like us, the easier they'll conform to our norms. These hiring preferences can perpetuate status quo in organizations. One way to overcome the status quo bias is to create a great sense of urgency. If our school's performance rating is not improved, the school will be closed. If a toxic teacher is not removed from the team, the entire team will become toxic. Low organizational performance does catch people's tendency, which is the negativity bias, but it also gives less maneuvering room because fewer resources are available in low-performing organizations. On the other hand, in high-performing organizations, the opposite is true. Convincing people of the need for change is much more difficult, but will have more resources to make changes. More important, we don't have to be the only one who create a sense of urgency. People tend to shoot the bear of bad news. In this case, leaders can rely on outsiders to bring uncomfortable information. The purpose is to make the status quo seem more dangerous than venturing into the unknown. In this video, we talk about the status quo bias. It refers to our preference for the situation to remain unchanged in the absence of pressure to change it. Now it is time for you to provide an example of the status quo bias and reflect on how it influences decisions made by you or the people around you.